Hello everyone, Mr. Sup here, not from my computer lab, but from my house, unfortunately. I thought today we'd talk a little bit about vector art, and I'd show you some ways that you can practice vector art at home. In my lab, the students would use Adobe Illustrator for vector art, and you might be wondering, how is vector art different than any other kind? Well, if you take like a digital photo, something you did it in Photoshop, that'd be a raster art. Raster art means it's made out of pixels. Pixels are squares. That is why when you take a piece of raster art and you make it larger, it starts to get blurry, or it starts to pixelate because we can start to see the edges of those squares. In vector art, we don't have that problem because it's made out of lines. We can make it as big as we want or as small as we want, and there's never any distortion. That's why it's really popular in industry with logos. Someone can put a logo on their shirt or their hat, or they could blow it up the size of the side of their building, and there's not any distortion. We practiced this in digital design a little bit with Adobe Illustrator. Had the students make some animals, and they also had to recreate a pizza that they found online. There is Kyra's, and this panda was Addie's. So real simple. It's just lines and shapes and colors. And you might be saying, well, I don't have Adobe Illustrator at home, but that's okay. If you go to vector.com, vectr.com, you can add the tutorial if you want. You do have to make an account, but it's free. And then you'll get a workspace that looks something like this. And all we do is either draw or draw shapes, like they have a rectangle, a rounded rectangle. There are a bunch of pre-made shapes. You can draw them any size you want. You can recolor them over here. So if I want to have a blue pentagon, I can. The border, we'll put a stroke around it, and then we just increase the pixel size of the border. But when we really get into messing around with vector art, we need to talk about either combining or subtracting from shapes. So if I wanted a pentagon with a rounded bottom, I could make a circle and overlap the two, and then I need to select both of them. So I just take my cursor and I click and drag and I select both. And then I get these. This is called the Pathfinder in Illustrator. I don't know that they really have a name for it on this program, but we can either combine the two shapes into one. We can use the shape on top like a cookie cutter, and then I'd get my rounded bottom. We can also have it just select where the intersection takes place, or just omit where the intersection takes place. We said we wanted to do this, so now I have a pentagon with a rounded rectangle. I don't know why I'd want that, but we could. Also, you guys can do quick, kind of easy, fun characters. So let's say that we were going to do a rabbit. So I'd turn this gray. I'm going to turn my stroke black. I just want a thin stroke though. Rabbits need ears, right? So let's make some long ears. I am going to turn a stroke on. Now, I've got my ear drawn. This is a bounding box. If I click on my shapes, the bounding box comes up, and then I can resize. This ear might be a little bit big, so I'm going to scale it down just a bit. I can also rotate it if I want my ear to tilt to the side a little bit. Here's the thing. This doesn't look exactly right. I'd rather just have one stroke around it, or have the bottom of the ear curve off. So I could do this if I wanted. I could make another circle and move it on top, select them both, and then use that Pathfinder tool to give me that curved bottom. But I'm not going to do that in this case. I'm going to draw my ear. I'm going to put it where I want it. Maybe just a little bit longer. Since my bounding box is there. I'm going to select them both, and I'm just going to combine the shapes, and that way the stroke will automatically be added to the other ear. I'm going to back up. I'm going to undo there. Command Z or Control Z, depending on what kind of computer you're using. I want another ear the exact same size, so I'm just going to copy paste, which on my machine is Command C, Command V. Yours, it might be Control C, Control V if you're using a Windows-based machine. So I'm going to put both of these ears on, select everything. Now I have one shape for the head. And if I wanted to resize that, I could. Get my bounding box. I could morph it a little bit if I want. And then it's just about adding in all the little details. So I'll make some real thin circles here. I'm zoomed in quite a ways, so I'm starting to lose my place. So I'll make these little pink parts for the inside of the ear. And again, I'm going to just Command-C, Command-V to make a second one. And once you get that little curly cue, when you start to get outside of your bounding box, then you can start to tilt stuff. You guys, I'm sure, are much more artistic than I am. So this is a real simple way. The Illustrator program that we use in class is quite a bit more advanced than this. And we can actually go in and edit all these anchor points. Every one of these points along the path is, there are anchor points that we can alter in Illustrator, and it makes it really user-friendly and super customizable. If I wanted to make like a floppy ear, I'd have to use the pen tool. The pen tool is kind of unique. So I click once and then I drag, and you can see I get a straight line here, but if I click and drag, then I can drag that line out any way I want. So let's imagine I was going to do a floppy ear. So I'll make a curve about like that. And then in Illustrator, you'd go back here and click this point to keep going, but in this program, it doesn't quite work that way. But again, I can just click and drag again. And again. And I'm going to click and drag again, and then I'm going to finish my path. So now I have an object or a shape that I've made, and if I wanted to, I could go in there and get if I wanted the exact color of my bunny, I use this eyedropper tool right here, and I could click, and now this would be the exact same color. And I could absolutely move this over, select everything, and make it one shape. I don't really want to do that now because I have these pink parts of my ears. And I've already got 2 ears on. I don't think I need a floppy ear. One other thing that you might find interesting, I'm going to hit this upload image. And I've got a couple images saved on my desktop here. Actually, I've got quite a few. Let's upload our Boone Central logo here. Now, if I wanted to, by the way, if you hold down Shift as you resize, it will maintain proportionality. Otherwise, you can stretch it and distort it. So if it's something you want to keep the proportions on, make sure you're holding down Shift as you resize. So if I wanted to make my rabbit the exact same color as the inside of the cardinal head, I hit this eyedropper tool, I click right here, and it's the exact same color, which is kind of cool. You can also use that, we could use that pen tool. We could make a vector version. This is a PNG file, so it is raster. It is not vector. We could easily, though, using that pen tool, just click here and click and drag. And it's hard to tell because it's the same color, but I could make this exact outline of this cardinal, and then we would have a vector version of that. It's just something you can play around with, a cool way to make custom shapes. And then, you know, of course, your rabbit's going to need some eyes and probably a pink nose and some whiskers. I would probably use the pen tool for whiskers. So I just click and click. Actually, you'll want to double click if you're done. If you click one too many times, you can just click over here in another shape and it will get rid of it. Whoops, and I accidentally put a rectangle in there. So I could make each one of these individual whiskers if I wanted to put like 3 whiskers on each side, or I could select one of the whiskers and copy and paste it, and then just move it into place. Oh, I accidentally grabbed the bounding box. For that, you're probably going to have to zoom in a little bit. Move it into place. Wait till you get your little curly cue. If I can get it here, there we go, and then rotate it. And let me zoom out again. This isn't going to look real good unless he has a nose. So we'll put this nose on him. And we probably better make that pink like the ears. So I'll get my eyedropper. Pink. And then again, I could copy and put whiskers on the other side. In the interest of time, I'm not going to do that. Let's jump down to this rounded rectangle tool. We'll give him a couple teeth here. I want to make that white. I'm going to copy and paste so I have a second one. Those maybe aren't the best teeth in the world. I'm going to make him a little smiley face here using my pen tool. And then we may have to adjust. We'll have to adjust where these teeth are. And you can use the arrow keys in your computer too. And then you'd have to make eyes. Probably aren't the best teeth in the world either, but you can make your eyes. I'm going to add a border so we can see it. I want to make a slightly smaller circle. I think my rabbit's eyes are going to be blue. So I'll just go ahead and stack that in there. And a slightly smaller circle yet. We'll make that one black for his pupil. And there we have an eye. I could just select everything and move it all over there. And then instead of doing that all over again, I could just, the problem is that I've got it moved into the rabbit. Pro tip, don't move stuff unless you've copied and pasted, because I want two eyes. So let me move that over there, copy and paste. Now I've got two eyes. Now I can move them in one at a time. Just make sure you make that selection. This is something you can do easily at home. When you're done, you want to hit this export button up here. If you want to keep it scalable, like in a vector image, save it as an SVG file. It's scalable vector graphics. Otherwise, if you know you don't need to make it a whole lot bigger, you can either do a PNG or a JPEG. A PNG is nice if you don't want to have a white background behind your picture. PNG supports transparency, JPEG does not. But I'm going to be happy with the JPEG, and then I can go ahead and download. You can also share on Facebook or Twitter. So if you make something, you make some really cool creation, please let me know. Please share it with me back here on Facebook so I can see it. If you have any questions, shoot me an email and I'll do the best I can to help. All right, everyone stay safe and practice your digital media.